Alright, so we are back and we're going to get straight into it. On this little episode / video, we're finishing off removing the parts of the gas system that are unneeded, and then we're going to get the fuel tank into position where the LPG tanks were. So under the car here, there's only two hard lines that run. One is the brake line and one is the gas line. So with these lines here, we're going to leave basically from this point backwards. Fingers crossed we're going to be able to use the gas line as a fuel sender line with some AN fittings, but we'll get around to that, we'll see. So given these are gas lines, they probably aren't going to be AN fittings, but we do have an AN6 fitting here. We're going to have a look and see if it mates, because we are trying to use as much of what's on the car as possible. So the AN6 fittings are too thick and they don't seem to want to thread into the stock gas lines. So since they are different, the plan at the moment is we might use some soft line all the way up to the fuel rail. As for the hard line all the way back here, we may see if we can get adapters from the gas fitting to PTFE line and go from the fuel tank to PTFE line, but we'll see. So Big Brains Trust was thinking that this T-pipe may have had a check valve in it, but it doesn't, so basically useless. So thanks to hoarding, we already have some hardline, so we're gonna go bend some fuel line. Here we have some of the gas line we've removed. This part went into the converter, and the other end came from underneath the car. So what we're going to do is use this hard line to make a section that comes from the factory line all the way up to where the fuel rail would be, copying the bends on the factory hard line from the gas setup to ensure that it fits where we want and so it looks stock, because I don't know, stock is best, not really. So this is the bad boy we just made, and it even goes into the factory clip, which is pretty, I want to say poggers, but I'm not, pretty cool. So from this part that pops out, we will have a soft line that goes from the fuel rail and connects here. This is the line we'll be using. This is PTFE E85 Safe-6 braided lines. So we're going to put a 90 on one end and then put a 90 on the other end that we just showed you, that's up against the firewall. And then this is going to go straight into the fuel rail, and that's job well done for the front half of the fuel system. So now we're going to remove the stock gas ECU, as this is pretty much useless to us. We'll have to drill out these little lock nuts. We're going to remove the harness that we don't need and then put in the FG ECU and the ZF. So this will allow us to remove a section of wiring and let us know what we do and don't have on the new wiring harness that we got. Fingers crossed it does work, but if not, that will be on the next episode of figuring out this car. So a good way to remove these are these easy outs. Just find a similar size to what you want to remove, put it on top, and the teeth will grab it and pull it out. Pretty handy, pretty cool. So what we've done is just put a screwdriver underneath the head and just lift it up a bit so the easy out can grab it, and then voila. So looking at both ECUs side by side, there's a pretty big difference once you flip them over. The gas ECU has all 3 ports, while on the ZF FG ECU there's only 2 ports. And while we're talking about interesting things, this is the LPG drive-by-wire throttle body. So over here, this little tube is the inlet for where the LPG travels through, and then if we flip it over, you'll see that the LPG comes out these little holes at the top here. So speaking hypotheticals and money saving, we were thinking that we could reuse this if we plug up this inlet hose and then remove this little gas disperser unit. It basically converts it back into a normal throttle body. So back to the engine bay, we've got the top cover removed. We've obviously taken the throttle body off like we showed you before, and we've started to undo the manifold, and we're going to remove some of this wiring, try and get it all out of the way. So now since we've got the intake removed, this large hunk of wires is going to be removed as well, but they can only really be taken out once the gearbox is dropped, so that will be next on the list. And as promised, moving on to the rear end of the car, we have put the gas tank in. Well, we will be, not yet. So as you can see, we've got the jack stands in front of the U-bolts, and the U-bolts have been unbolted. So the plan is we're going to move the diff back, or at least let the diff move so the yoke is facing up or down, just for that extra 10 centimeter clearance, because without that there's no luck of getting this fuel tank in. So to allow the diff to rotate, we want to pop it off the locator pins, and we're going to do that by lifting up the wheel, which will just slip it off, and that will allow movement in the rear end. So you can see here that both sides are off the locating pins. And it's made the diff face upwards, which isn't really what we want for space to allow the tank to go in. So we're going to ratchet strap it to face downwards to give us that extra bit of space. Look at that fine craftsmanship. So in a second you're going to see more beautiful orange craftsmanship. So we have the ratchet straps hooking up onto the mounting holes to hold the tank up on this side, and then we're going to hook it onto the other mounting bracket on the other side and then slowly ratchet it up. So this here is a factory harness. It connects up to the LPG harness, but it will need to be repinned for the fuel pumps. So as we currently don't have the mounting straps, like the metal straps to hold the tank in place permanently, this little ratchet strap job is going to be the semi-permanent meantime solution, just to get it off the floor and allow us to measure up the fuel lines. So as I said, this is just a semi-permanent solution, as we still need to sort out fuel pumps, and that's going to involve us dropping the tank again to put the fuel pumps in. But once we've sorted out fuel pumps and fuel lines, then we'll be able to get some permanent straps put in to hold up the tank. So everything in the rear end is now all connected. We've got the rear shackles and leaf springs on. The fuel nozzle is connected to the chassis, and the diff is facing the right way. So yeah, progress is progress, and we progressing slowly.